Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be analyzing the characters and the roles that each character play in the novel The Invisible Weevil by Mary Karooro Okurut. The novel chronicled the happenings in Uganda, in the post-independent Uganda, after the colonial era. It is a fictionalized version of events that happened after the independence. It look at the social issues in Uganda. It look at the gender issues. It look at the issue of bad governance. It look at the issue of HIV and AIDS, corruption, poverty, illiteracy, rape, bullying, and all the atrocities that happen in the post-colonial Ugandan society. And we saw that the weaving is used to represent a lot of the negativities that happens in Uganda, especially the coming of HIV and AIDS, and how the HIV and AIDS was handled by people, especially families that it affected. How some of the families resort to witch doctors to get cured of HIV, and how that led to a lot of death and even many others contracting the disease. So we are going to be looking at the characters one after another, and the first character we are going to be looking at is Ukwazi. Ukwazi is a younger girl in the start of the novel. Note that the novel is a child development novel that chronicles the development of Ukwazi from when she was a child to when she got married and become an adult wife. Then we see that Ukwazi was the girlfriend when Ukwazi got admission to the secondary school. When she got admission to the secondary school, she was welcomed in a way that surprises her by the other girls. One of the girls called Brigadier even gave her a slap after she was asked to put off a electric bulb by blowing it, and then she was wondering how she would be able to do that. And we saw that she was served what they call Holy Communion, which consists of urine and food remnant in her first week in the boarding school. And Ukwazi expresses a lot of nasty welcome, normally given to all the first year students. So the practice is enjoyable by the older student, but to the new student, it is a big nightmare. So when the senior girls announced that there is going to be a fee in the night, Ukwazi was happy but does not even know that it is going to be a nightmare for her. So she also she gets up and begins to do the impossible, trying to blow up the electric bulb that she was asked to do, and she was not able to do it. So we saw that Ukwazi was a very committed character in the novel. She is the heroine of the novel and also the protagonist. She dreamt to be a global personality and focuses much on her profession. And however, we saw that after even the boyfriend called Genesis tries so many times to have sexual affair with her, but she refuses, promising that she's not going to defile herself until the day of her marriage. However, the husband was not having such dream of keeping himself and becoming a global personality. The husband, even after marriage, is still sleeping with other girls and contracted HIV and died. So another character we are going to be looking at is Genesis. Genesis is Ukwazi's boyfriend in the school and then later became the husband of Ukwazi. He is so impatient and then he does not have a strict principle. He slept with other girls, and then when he saw Ukwazi with Mafuta. He thought that Ukwazi was having an affair. He was so suspicious of Ukwazi, even though Ukwazi has proven to him several times that she is a lady of her decision. She's a lady of principle. She's a girl of principle that will not allow any man to touch her. Yet he's always suspecting Ukwazi and so jealous, and does not want anybody to come close to her, especially the boys. So Genesis drinks a lot. He engaged in alcoholism, drink, and even in the process of drinking, he has sexual affair with Brown, one of the girls who was serving in the bar. And when Ukwazi graduated and got employed to the ministry, Genesis was not having he was not having enough time for Genesis. Rather, or Genesis feel that Ukwazi was not having enough time for, was not giving attention to him, and then he decided to frolic around with other girls. He contracted HIV as a result of that sexual affair with other girls, and he ultimately died. Now we have another character in the novel called Gora. Gora is Ukwazi's friend, and then she's one of the girls that we are giving urine and food remnant as Holy Communion in her first year in the secondary school, alongside Ukwazi and other girls. Gora also was, I can say Gora is also a committed student in the school. However, she had sexual affair with her chemistry teacher, and that led to pregnancy. In fact, due to the pregnancy, she was rusticated from the school. Her family was so disappointed to the extent that the mother does not even want to be seeing Gora. So the mother married her off to a polygamous man who was already an old man. And we saw that the other wives of the man, of the husband of Gora, were so jealous and competitive. They did not even want to see Gora, and Gora faces a lot of challenge. No, she was naive from school. Even in the marriage, she was still naive, and other wives of the man using such naivety to her disadvantage. And we saw that another character, Tingo, is a brother to Ukwazi. Is a very confident, or rather an overconfident brother of Ukwazi, who is so proud of himself and believes that he has prepared enough for his exams and he's going to pass all the papers with flying color. Unfortunately, his performance did not give him the result he was expecting. When the exam result was released, he performed woefully. He failed, and then he was demoralized for days, though he was asked to retake the exams. And he used to confide on his sister Ukwazi also. And he also grew up. The novel also followed his development, just as it focuses on the development of Ukwazi from childhood to adulthood. And then we have another character in the novel called Matayo. Matayo is very hypocritical. He's a religious fundamentalist who lives in lies and hypocrisy. He behaves to be somebody who is holy, but rather he is not holy. He is very, very hypocritical and deceitful. He once raped Ukwazi when Ukwazi was a young girl, and Ukwazi reported the case to the mother, and the mother reported the case to the police. And Matayo was arrested. Matayo was a herdsman employed by the mother of Ukwazi. So Matayo was arrested, and during interrogation in the detention, he admitted that he raped Ukwazi, and then he was given the punishment and prosecuted. And we have another character in the novel called Rex. Rex is a friend of Genesis in the school, and he is so over-ambitious. He's over-ambitious and had the great lust for power. And he also wanted to contest for election. Instead of supporting Genesis, the campaign fund for Genesis, he appropriated it and used it to campaign for the same seat that he's supposed to be supporting Genesis for. And he was so hypocritical, and he also admires Ukwazi. And when the opportunity afforded itself, he raped Ukwazi. He entered the room when Ukwazi was preparing for marriage, and Ukwazi was being attended to by her aunt Senga. And when Senga went out to take something, Rex entered. He saw Ukwazi naked, and then he raped Ukwazi. After raping Ukwazi, he ran away. And when the aunt returned, he saw Ukwazi crying, and then Ukwazi narrated what happened to her. Though the sister of Ukwazi does not want, so the auntie of Ukwazi does not want Ukwazi to report the case of rape to the police because it may lead to the marriage not holding again, because it was the very day of the marriage. But however, Ukwazi was not taking that. He still reported the case to the police, and then there was a lot of delay on that day of the wedding, and some people were hoping that the marriage will not hold again, but however, the marriage took place between Ukwazi and Genesis. Another character is Senga. Senga is the aunt of Ukwazi, and he was so happy that Ukwazi was getting married, and she hopes that Ukwazi will have a very blissful marriage. Though on that day of marriage, she was nervous because of the rape case, and then she encourages and advises Ukwazi not to report the case of the rape to the police because it may lead Genesis to refuse getting married to Ukwazi. And several people will not be comfortable with that issue. It may be a stigma even after marriage. So she encourages Ukwazi to forget about the issue of rape. She should just pretend as if nothing has happened and then get married to her lover, Genesis. But Ukwazi was not taking that advice. Ukwazi decided to report the case, even though the mother of Ukwazi was supporting the opinion and suggestion of Senga. Ukwazi still refused and reported the case to the police, and Rex was arrested. She's a good aunt who wishes good thing for her sister, for her cousin, and she's not one of those aunts that probably should be wicked to their younger ones. Now we have another character in the novel called Duduma. Duduma is a thug from the beginning of the novel, and then he is the president of the postcolonial Kenya country. Of the postcolonial Ugandan society. And we saw that Duduma was a very brutal president. He even ordered for army officers who are against his regime to be killed in Lake Victoria. His pride led to him chasing all the Asians and other white people with white skin away from Uganda. And this led to deterioration of the economy, and his lust for power and poor governance contributed to the destruction of the economy and the economic meltdown that the Ugandan society witnessed in the novel. Duduma brought a lot of pains. He was a greedy man, very, very corrupt, and was merciless to anyone that did not support his ideology. So it was due to his bad governance that even the cases of negative things happening were not taken serious by the police, because whoever supports Duduma, whatever evil the person does, the person goes scot-free. The person is not challenged, and even when the person is challenged, he uses influence to subdue the case. So Duduma represents all the negative things, and he also is one of the weevil in the novel. Okay, now we come to the end of this character analysis. We are going to be analyzing other characters like the mother of Ukwazi and several other characters later. And the themes in the novel, we are going to be discussing them in the subsequent video. And also the video of the plot analysis of the novel will soon be uploaded as well. Thank you and have a great day.